Mama Charles's voice pierced through the air. Chloroquine. Chloroquine. The name stung Chloe, a constant reminder of her mother-in-law's hatred for her. Mama Charles had twisted Chloe's name into a mockery, calling her chloroquine, a name that echoes her hatred for Chloe. Chloe hastily made her way to the kitchen, concern etched on her face. "Mama, what's wrong?" she asked, trying to hide the hurt from her voice. Mama Charles turned to her with eyes of anger. "I need salt," she snapped, her tone dripping with malice. "Where do you keep salt in this house?" Chloe's eyes narrowed. "Mama, you are at it again. I've told you to stop cooking and let me do it. Tell me what you want to eat, and I will make it available for you. I'm a good cook." Mama Charles's gaze turned evil, her voice rising to a shout. "God forbid. I won't let a man cook for me. The gods of my village will curse me." Chloe's eyes flashed with frustration. "But Mama, I'm not a man. I'm your daughter-in-law, a woman." Mama Charles's expression twisted in disgust. "A woman without a womb is a man, not a woman. If you claim to be a woman, prove it by giving me grandchildren." The words struck Chloe like a slap on her cheek, and she burst into tears. As she turned to flee, Mama Charles grasped her shirt, pulling her back. "Come and give me salt, jaw." In the struggle, Mama Charles lost her balance and fell to the ground. As she hit the floor, Mama Charles began to cry out, "Chloroquine is beating me." Charles, who was just coming back from work, heard the cries and noise from the kitchen and quickly headed to the kitchen to investigate. To his surprise, he met Mama on the ground, crying that Chloe was beating her. Charles looked at Chloe in a manner that seemed to ask, "Did you really do it?" Chloe was short of words, and she ran to her room in tears. Mama Charles got up from the ground and rushed to her room, phone in hand. She dialed her two daughters' numbers, Ada and Uli, eager to tell them what happened, painting Chloe as a bad person. "Chloe is beating me," she cried. Charles quickly rushed after his wife, his face etched with concern, and wrapped his arms around her in a comforting hug. "I know you didn't do it, Chloe," he whispered softly, his voice filled with conviction. "I know my mom is lying. It's just her way, and we both know it." Chloe's tears slowly dried up as she felt Charles's warm embrace, his words of reassurance cooling her burning nerves. She knew that Charles believed her, and that gave her the strength. Just then, the sound of cars pulling up outside filled the air, followed by the thunderous voices of Charles's two sisters, Uli and Ada. "Where is Chloe? Where is Chloe?" they chorused, their footsteps echoing through the living room as they made their way to Charles's bedroom. Without even knocking, they burst the bedroom door open, their faces twisted in anger. Uli's eyes scanned the room, her gaze locking onto Chloe, who was still wrapped in Charles's arms. "Shame on you, Charles," Uli spat. "You're patting the girl who beat your mother on." With a swift motion, Uli stretched out her hand and delivered a dirty slap to Chloe's face. Charles's eyes blazed with anger as he sprang to his wife's defense. He slapped Uli in return, his face set in a firm expression. "Get out of my house," Charles thundered. "And never come back. You have no right to come into my home and assault my wife. I won't stand for it." Uli and Ada exchanged shocked glances, their faces pale with anger, and left the room. Ada and Uli stormed into Mama's room, their faces still burning with anger and humiliation. "Mama, you won't believe what Charles did to us," Uli exclaimed. Mama's eyes narrowed, her expression darkening. "What did he do?" she asked. "He slapped me, Mama. Can you imagine that? Charles slapped me because of that stupid woman Chloe he calls a wife," Ada chimed in. "It's as if Chloe has cast a spell on our brother, Mama. He's no longer the Charles we know." Mama's face twisted in disgust, her eyes flashing with anger. "That woman is a curse, I tell you. She's bewitched my son, and now she's turning him against his own family." Uli and Ada nodded in agreement, their faces set in determined expressions. "Don't worry, Mama," Uli said. "We'll stand by you, and together, we'll find a way to deal with Chloe once and for all." Mama's eyes gleamed with a sinister light, a plan already forming in her mind. I'll take care of Chloe, my daughters. Just leave it to me. Out of anger and a desire for revenge, Mama made a sudden decision. She would leave the city immediately and head to the village, where she would strategize and gather her strength for the battle ahead. As Mama packed her bags and prepared to leave, Chloe felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had no idea that Mama's departure was only the beginning of a greater evil. With a sense of determination, Mama left the city, her heart burning with a desire for revenge against the woman she saw as a threat to her family's unity. Little did Chloe know, the storm was only just gathering, and she was about to face the fight of her life. Let me tell you a little about Chloe and how she ended up in this kind of marriage. Chloe was the epitome of beauty in the village. Her name had become synonymous with excellence, and people would often use her name to describe anything that was exceptionally good. As beautiful as Chloe was a common phrase the village people always used to compliment someone or anything beautiful. As a result, Chloe's father's house clustered with men from far and wide pouring in like tap water, all asking for her hand in marriage. However, despite the numerous proposals and lavish gifts, Chloe remained unmoved. It wasn't that she was proud or haughty, on the contrary, she was well brought up and kind-hearted. The truth was that none of the suitors had managed to capture her heart. Charles, a successful young businessman, had made a name for himself in Lagos. With his fleet of cars and impressive properties, he was the epitome of wealth and success. It was on one of his many trips that he stumbled upon Chloe. Chloe, with her radiant beauty and captivating smile, had swept Charles off his feet. He wooed her and soon they found themselves deeply in love. When Charles finally met Chloe's parents, she turned to them with a beaming smile and said, "I love him, he is the man I love, the man of my dream." At just 18 years old, Chloe was young, and Charles was 45, but her parents knew that love knew no age. They also recognized that Charles, with his wealth and success, could provide for their daughter in ways they never could. Charles had been previously married, and his wife had passed away from when she was giving birth to their first child, just 3 years prior, leaving behind a young daughter, Sandra. Despite this, Chloe's parents were convinced that Charles was the right man for their daughter. They saw the way he looked at her, with a deep affection and adoration, and they knew that he would take care of her. And so, with their blessing, the marriage went ahead. Charles spared no expense in showering Chloe with gifts and luxuries. He gave her everything money could buy, and she wanted for nothing. But as the years went by, a nagging problem began to surface. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to bear children. By the time Chloe was 24, the pressure from Charles's mother had become almost unbearable. The abusive words and constant criticism were messing up Chloe's mental health. Despite her beautiful body, she was dying inside. It was a cool evening, just 2 days after Mama's departure, and Charles and Chloe were in the living room, eating popcorn and watching a movie. The atmosphere was relaxed, with the soft glow of the TV illuminating their faces. Suddenly, Charles's phone rang. Charles checked the caller ID and his expression changed. It was his mother. He hesitated for a moment before picking up the call. He put the phone on loudspeaker, allowing Chloe to hear every word. Mama's voice was shrill and commanding. "Charles, I found a new wife for you," she announced, her tone broken no argument. Charles's eyes widened in shock, and he exchanged a disbelieving glance with Chloe. "You can't be serious, Mama," he protested. "That stupid chloroquine must leave your house. She's barren, and you need a woman who can give you children." Charles's face darkened in anger. "I won't accept that, Mom," he shouted. "You can't choose a wife for me. I'm a grown man, and I make my own decisions." Chloe felt a pang of hurt and embarrassment, her eyes welling up with tears. She knew that Mama's words were meant to wound, to make her feel inadequate and unwanted. Charles, sensing Chloe's distress, reached out and put a comforting arm around her shoulders. "Don't worry, my love," he whispered. "There's nothing that can make me leave you, not even children. I love you, and that's all that matters." Chloe looked up at Charles, her eyes searching for reassurance. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Charles nodded, his expression resolute. "Remember, I promised your parents that I'd love and cherish you, through better or worse. I'm not about to break that promise now." As Charles's words washed over her, Chloe felt a wave of relief wash away some of her doubts. She snuggled deeper into Charles's arms, feeling a sense of gratitude and love for this man who had chosen to stand by her, despite his mother's cruel words. But even as she felt a sense of comfort, a lingering doubt still whispered in the back of her mind. That evening, Chloe went to visit her close friend, Mama Jima, an elderly woman who lived in the next house. As soon as she saw Mama Jima, Chloe burst into tears, her words tumbling out in a sorrowful rush. "I'm afraid I might just collapse and die one day," she sobbed, her body shaking with emotion. "Can you imagine that Mama want to bring another girl for Charles?" Mama Jima's face was etched with concern as she wiped away Chloe's tears. "Why are you crying, my child?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. "This is the time to stand strong and fight for your marriage, not to cry. I understand your pain. I'm a single mother. I know what it means for a man to abandon a woman." Chloe looked up at Mama Jima, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. "What do you think I should do?" she asked, seeking guidance from her wise friend. Mama Jima's expression turned thoughtful. "This is the 6th year since your childlessness, and what steps have you taken to change things?" she asked Chloe. Chloe sighed, feeling a sense of frustration wash over her. "I've gone to countless hospitals, and they keep telling me that everything is okay with me, that nothing is wrong with me. I've even visited spiritual houses," she replied, her voice laced with desperation. Mama Jima leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "Have you tried another man?" she asked, her words sending a shockwave down Chloe's spine. Chloe's eyes widened in horror as she adjusted her position, unsure if she had heard Mama Jima correctly. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with indignation. Mama Jima's expression was unyielding. "I mean, have you tried another man?" she repeated, her voice firm but gentle. "God forbid I should suggest such a thing," Chloe shouted. "But sometimes, desperate situations call for desperate measures," Mama Jima replied. Chloe's face burned with anger and shock as she jumped to her feet. "I can't do that," she shouted, her voice echoing through the room. "I love my husband, and I won't cheat on him." As Chloe stormed out of Mama Jima's house, she couldn't shake off the feeling that her friend's words had planted a seed in her heart, a seed that may soon grow into something unexpected. The last words Mama Jima told her kept echoing in her mind: "Think about what I just said, the earlier the better for you, or be ready to lose your husband." The next morning Mama arrived at the city with a young lady for her son, Precious by name. By all standards she was a very pretty young lady with beautiful face and external features. She was not a typical village girl as she was dressed seductively, showing all her cleavages, which left Chloe intimidated. This hurt Chloe deeply. Matter became worse when Precious headed straight to Charles' bedroom to drop her things. Chloe was not ready for any drama. She packed her things from her matrimonial bedroom to the boys' quarters. As she was not ready for Momo's drama, she was hoping that Charles would fix everything when he comes back. She felt a little sense of relief when she heard Charles driving in as the gateman opened the gate for him. She was expecting to see Charles very soon, coming to look for her at the boys' quarters, but to her surprise Charles never came. She felt lonely that night. After all, she was the one who hasn't bear a child after 6 years. But Mama has really done this. When Charles entered, she met Precious in the bedroom dressed in her seductive clothes, revealing all her cleavages. She went straight to Charles to collect his bag. Charles couldn't offer any resistance. He fell for her immediately he saw her. Of course, only a few men can resist such gold served to them on a platter. The next morning Chloe felt so ashamed to face Mama and Precious. Then she remembered what Mama Jima told her the previous evening, and she felt there was a need for her to do something. If it's to start having an affair with other men, then so be it, but how can I start? Which man should I meet? Chloe kept pondering in her heart. One morning as Chloe sat at the veranda pondering on how to get a man in her heart, she saw the gateman watering the flowers. Her thoughts shifted for a moment. Why thinking if a man when I have one under my nose? This gateman can get me pregnant. He look very handsome, he will give me good children. From that day on, Chloe started sneaking into the gateman's room. She would carefully make her way to his quarters, making sure no one saw her. And she couldn't get enough of it. As the days turned into weeks, Precious started to feel a change within her body. At exactly 1 month of sleeping with the gateman, she missed her period. She was taken aback, wondering if it could be a sign of something more. But she was wise beyond her years, and she knew that she had to be careful. Within the same period that she was sleeping with the gateman, she was also luring Charles to her bedroom. She went straight to the hospital, her heart pounding with anticipation. The doctor took her sample and sent her to wait for the results. The wait seemed like an eternity, but finally, the doctor called her in. "You're pregnant," he said with a smile. Chloe couldn't wait to share the news. She quickly ran into her car and rushed back home, but as she ran into her matrimonial bedroom, her heart sank. There, lying on the bed, were Charles and Precious, their bodies entangled in a loving embrace. Charles, sensing Chloe's presence, turned to face her. His eyes narrowed, wondering what had brought her to the room with such urgency. Chloe's hands trembled as she held out the envelope containing the pregnancy test results. "I'm pregnant," she exclaimed, her voice ringing out loud and clear, ensuring that Precious heard the news. Charles's expression transformed from curiosity to shock. "Tell me you're joking," he said, his voice laced with incredulity, as he took the envelope from Chloe's hand. He ripped it open, his eyes scanning the results, and then suddenly, he was on his feet, embracing Chloe tightly, his lips meeting hers in a passionate kiss. Precious, feeling like an outsider, couldn't bear to witness the intimate moment. She rose from the bed, her eyes flashing with anger and disappointment, and stormed out of the room. She went to sit down on the couch in the balcony, her mind racing with thoughts of despair. As she sat there, Precious couldn't help but wonder what was wrong with her. Why had Chloe gotten pregnant before her? She had been so confident that she would be the one to conceive first, and that would be the key to securing her position in the house. But now, with Chloe's pregnancy, Precious felt her own position threatened. Determination etched on her face, Precious vowed to fight for what she wanted. She couldn't lose Charles, not now, not when she had finally gotten a taste of the luxurious life he offered. She was willing to do whatever it took to ensure that she remained the center of Charles's attention. The battle lines had been drawn, and Precious was ready to fight. Precious was a very smart lady. She wasn't fully convinced that Chloe was pregnant. She decided to do something crazy to clear her doubt. That night, when she wanted to make love with Charles, she lured Charles to use a condom. "I haven't made love with a condom before," she said. "I want to know how it feels." "But it is not necessary. I need babies, so I don't think using CD will help anything," Charles replied. "I know, but I just want to know how it feels. Moreover, I'm in my safe period. Whether we do it with CD or not, it doesn't matter. I just want to know how it feels handling a CD." After much convincing, she managed to convince Charles. And they did it with a condom, as after the process she told Charles to relax, that she would unflush the used CD in the toilet. But on the way she tied it up and put it inside the fridge. The next morning she took it to the lab for seminal analysis. She sat in the doctor's office, waiting for the result. Soon the analysis result was out and the scientist handed it to the doctor. "What does it say? Tell me at once, doctor," she said as she hastily wanted to know the answer. "Madam, your husband is impotent," the doctor said. "He cannot father a child." "I knew it," she shouted. "I knew she got pregnant outside. That witch called Chloe. Now I have my proof. The truth must surface." She quickly carried her handbag and the result and headed straight home. Suddenly a thought dropped in her mind. If Charles is impotent, then who is the real father of Sandra, Charles's daughter with his late wife? Immediately she got home, she opened her handbag, brought out the test result and held it like a weapon, heading to Chloe's room. Precious stormed into Chloe's room, her eyes blazing with anger. Tell me who got you pregnant, she thundered, her voice boiling with anger. I know it's not Charles, don't even try to lie. She threw the result at Chloe, who looked at the paper, her eyes widening in shock. Her secret had been exposed. Chloe's face turned pale as she stared at the paper, her mind racing. How did you get this? She asked, her voice trembling. Precious sneered, her lips curling up in a cruel smile. I did what I had to do to uncover the truth, she said. I took Charles's used CD and sent it to the lab for a seminal analysis. And the result is clear, Charles is not the father of your child. Chloe's eyes widened in horror as she realized what Precious had done. You mean you ran a test on Charles without his knowledge? She asked, her voice laced with fear. Precious nodded, her eyes glinting with triumph. Yes, I did. And if Charles finds out, that will be your last day in this house, Chloe said, her voice firm and resolute. Precious thought for a moment, her mind racing. What Chloe said was true, she couldn't bring impotency results to the face of a man like Charles. He might kill her. She knew she had to think of a better way to expose Chloe, to make her pay for her deceit. And with that thought, she left Chloe's room, feeling defeated but not ready to give up. From that day on, Precious made it her mission to monitor Chloe's every move, to uncover the truth about the father of her child. She trailed behind Chloe, watching her every step, waiting for her to slip up so she could pounce. It was a typical evening at the estate, and it was Precious' turn to cook dinner in the house, but she was running behind schedule. As the clock struck 10 p.m., she finally finished preparing the meal and headed to the gateman's room to serve him. As she approached the room, she noticed that the door was slightly opened. She pushed it open and was shocked at what she saw. The gateman was fast asleep, but he wasn't alone. Chloe, who was already pregnant, was lying beside him, her hands wrapped around his chest. Precious' eyes widened in shock as she took in the scene. God has finally exposed you, she shouted, her voice echoing through the room. So, the gateman is your baby daddy, she accused, her eyes blazing with anger. Chloe, realizing she had been caught, tried to plead with Precious. Please, Precious, don't expose us, she begged, her voice shaking. I'll do anything, just please keep this a secret. But Precious' anger knew no bounds. You're still visiting him, even after getting pregnant, she shouted. You're shameless. After much pleading, Precious finally agreed not to expose them, but only if Chloe left the room immediately. Leave the room now, Precious shouted, her voice firm. Chloe, ashamed and embarrassed, quickly scrambled out of the room, not daring to look back. As Chloe walked out, she realized that Precious wasn't following her. She was still inside, alone with the gateman. Chloe's mind started racing as she wondered what Precious was up to. She knew Precious was angry, but she couldn't quite put her finger on what she was planning. Back in the room, Precious was confronting the gateman. So, you got her pregnant, she shouted, her eyes blazing with anger. Please, don't tell Ogre Charles, the gateman begged, his voice shaking. If you tell him, he'll kill me. I won't tell him, Precious said, a sly smile spreading across her face. But only on one condition. The gateman looked up at her, his eyes filled with fear. What's that? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I want you to get me pregnant, Precious said, her voice firm.